In this video segment, I want to talk about price. Once again, we're talking 20 to 35-year-old Mercedes. And I get emails all the time. People say, well, I found this such and such year, such and such. They want $2,000. What do you think? Is that a good price? Well, you can't go by price alone. It's more important you go by condition, okay? There's an old saying out there. There's nothing more expensive than a cheap Mercedes. That's really true if you're going to have the work done by a mechanic or a professional shop. If you're going to do a lot of the work yourself, sometimes you can beat the system. I'm going to call it that because I know what it's like. It's kind of fun to beat the system. But with this particular 190E, this is a 1992 190E 2.6, we didn't beat the system. In fact, when we bought this car, we kind of knew it was marginal at best, and we had to let it go. It was cheap, but sometimes cheap isn't good, and unless of course you use it for parts, and that's what we're doing here. So we didn't really lose on it. But be very careful, folks. Be very careful about going out and buying a really cheap Mercedes-Benz that's kind of a beater. It's been unloved because it can become a real money pit, okay? Many people have learned that the hard way. So what I want to do, I want to take you on a little journey with me as I go back in time and show you the day we brought this home and how we compared it to another 190E which cost considerably more. And I'm going to let you decide whether it's better to pay the money up front or try to buy something cheap and fix it up yourself. And you know, we're talking the wide range of $300 up to $20,000 for these old Mercedes-Benz. And yes, that's right, $20,000. I have seen a 300 TD turbo diesel station wagon go for $20,000. Of course, it was in pristine, original, under 50,000 mile condition. But some of these cars are highly sought after. So I can't tell you, you know. Basically, you're talking in the $1,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 range on average. But as we go through this video series, I hope you're going to learn that it's not all about cheap price, okay? Sometimes it's better to buy the best example you can find and pay the money for it.
All right, so here it is, guys. This is my 1992 190E 2.6 I just picked up last week. And I got a steal of a deal on this car. You know, I was following the guy for a little while on Craigslist and keeping an eye on it, and I finally snagged it for $400. And I mean, that's a great deal. Now, it does have some issues, and maybe not the prettiest one ever, but you know, for the price, I think I did pretty good. So, in all fairness, for this comparison, I'm gonna let Kent do a walk around on my car, and then I'll go around and do one on his car, and we can kind of do a shootout here and see which one is actually the better car.
Now this is my 1990 190E 2.6 that I paid $2,800 for. So I guess I have to concede on the price issue. Ari obviously got a better deal. But I think, you know, even if I allow Ari to do a walk around on this, he won't be able to hide the fact that my car may just be a little bit nicer than his. Okay, let's take a look at the deal of the century. Now, it doesn't look too bad from 10 feet away, and that's the first thing you need to be aware of when you're buying an older car. Never trust the pictures because they all look pretty good because they're all taken from 10 feet away. But as we move in closer, you know, the body doesn't look too bad from this side. But I can move in here right away. Look at that. I can see the overspray on the rubber trim. This is obviously a repainted car, and in my book that's not a good sign. Look down here on the rear view mirror, they even repainted that plastic, and you know that's going to be peeling off real soon. But I'll move up along the top here. I'm seeing a problem with the front windshield seal right there, and you'll see what that's causing a little bit later. But look at over here at the sunroof. You know, this is one of these tilting sunroofs, and it's not even closing properly. So I suspect we're going to have a sunroof problem. And then moving down here, you can see all the problem from the poor mask off here and the lack of detail when they repainted the car. We have lower panels that are loose and coming off. And then moving back here to the back fender, look at that. Look at the cracking in the paint. Okay, and look at that wonderful aftermarket antenna. That's a real good sign of high maintenance. And then let's move around here to the back. Dents in the trunk, scuffing on the rear bumper there. The taillights don't look too bad. But then we'll swing around here over to the right side, and we're seeing pretty much the same thing. This car has been neglected. You can see the dents down here, and then there's a rather large dent. You can see that in the right front door. So this car, you know, kind of looks okay from a distance, but I tell you, if you want something that looks nice and you can be proud to drive, you might want to think second about a poorly repainted car like this one. Let's take a look at the interior. Once again, you know, if you stand back 5 feet, you know, the door panel's a little dirty. But let's move in a little bit closer. Obviously, look at that. Someone here was a real Seattle Seahawks fan. Now, we like that around here at the Mercedessource. Okay, back to the car. The seats, well, they don't look too bad. They're not sagging, they're not torn like so many of them. But as I move in closer here, I'm noticing a funny smell. And that smell is the smell of moisture and mist. And it's very wet in this car, and that's probably due to that front windshield seal leak. But the dash is not cracked. That's a plus in my book. But somebody's messed up the wood. You know, obviously they've covered it over with some sort of black paint. And they've tried to jerry-rig all the dash to make it look all black. The glass is fairly good in the car, so other than the moisture inside this car, the interior would be restorable with not too much work. The carpets aren't too bad, and it has a very nice leather steering wheel on it that is hardly even worn. In fact, I don't even think that's the original steering wheel. All right, it's engine time. This is the main reason this car was sold for $400. Let's open up the hood. And oops, right away, look at that. Hood strut broken, hood pad missing. Obviously signs of a well-loved car, right? Okay, let's move in on the engine. And you're looking at an engine that has really been kind of neglected. Right away you can see, well, somebody's had the air filter assembly off trying to get this thing to run. They said that they tried to squirt fuel down the intake and it would pop and bang, but look at over here. You know, just everything is dirty and filthy. No one's cleaned the leaves or the drains out over here, and I don't see anything in here that looks like the car has been well taken care of. We'll get into a little bit more while we're trying to get this engine running, and it'll be kind of interesting to see what it's going to require to start it. We'll do that before we make the final decision on this car. We want to get the engine running and see how well it runs, and if possible, actually get it out and do a road test.
Okay, so here we are. Here's Kent's 190, and you know, from 10 feet, these cars do look almost identical. The white paint looks pretty good, and you know, we're gonna come up the side. Now his, maybe the paint's a little better, and not so many dents. And coming around the back, you see he's got the spoiler. Well, maybe we shouldn't show that just yet. We'll keep coming back around the front here. And no dents up the side, so he wins maybe on the body work. I'm not a big fan of the cheesy aftermarket turn signals, but everything looks pretty clean. And now, oh, we got a big problem here. Yeah, a leaky headlight. Now that's gonna cost him some points. Now coming around this side, the bumper looks pretty good. He's got good trim, but oh, I see another one. Got some paint scuff on the mirror. But overall, this is a pretty nice car. And coming down the side now, I see some more imperfections. Another scuff on the on the gas cap, and now we're kind of coming around to where you see the big difference. On the back of this car, he's got the 16 valve style spoiler, and that makes it look pretty good. I like the spoiler on these cars. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the interior of Kent's car, and the first thing you notice when you open the door, he's got nice door panels, everything clean and straight. The Palomino color looks really nice. I got to give it to him on that. The Palomino has a nice contrast on this white body. And when you start coming in here a little closer, the first thing I notice is that it's pleasantly free of any weird smells. And he's got a really nice dash in here. His wood trim looks really nice, but look at that. That's an old model steering wheel. What's up with that? He's losing style points there. But when you come down here, you look at the seats. Seats are really nice with no cracking. Very clean. This is a pretty nice interior. All original carpets look nice. You can even tell he might have vacuumed in here pretty recently. So, I don't know. Kent might get the nod on the interior in this car. Okay, now here's our last comparison. We're going to take a look at Kent's engine, and the first thing we see is he's got a working hood strut and a brand new hood pad, and that thing might just disappear overnight. But when you look in his engine, you notice everything looks pretty clean, and immediately the fender wells jump out at you. They're really clean, nice original paint. Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world. When you start looking around, there's a little oil leak. That's pretty common on these 103 engines. His headers are ugly, but, well, I can't really say I win that battle either. And everything in here looks pretty nice and original. There's no extra wiring or weirdness going on.
So who has the best car? You know, if it was like the last shootout we did together, we could both get in these cars and hit the road, but you know, Ari's car doesn't run. And that's one of the big reasons why he got the car for $400. So go ahead and place your vote. Leave a comment. Who got the best deal or who has the best car? Remember, you have to consider price. Now, in the next video in this series, we're going to see if we can get this engine running, and if we can, who knows, maybe Ari really did get the best deal. I know some of you that are watching this video are thinking, hey, I can fix this car. For $400, why not? Well, you haven't seen the rest of the story yet. And we filmed about 3 or 4 more videos on this car. I'm going to put links in the show more description below in this video so you can look at that old series. And then you can really decide. Because it wasn't just that the engine wouldn't start. We got the engine started fine. But then we took it out on the road. Transmission was shot. And then we started poking around. There was a bunch of hacked up wiring, dents all over the car. The interior smelled bad and was ratty inside. The suspension was worn out. So, okay, anything's fixable. I mean, sure, we could have fixed it, but why? These are not rare cars. If this was the only 190e 2.6 in the world, it would be worth fixing. But there's a lot of good ones out there that have far fewer problems than this one, so we decided in the end to let it go for parts. And if you watch that other old series of videos, you're going to find out we found an excellent engine. The engine runs beautifully. When you open up the valve cover, it looks like it's a recent replacement. So we didn't lose on this. We would have lost, though, if we would have set out to make this a good daily driver. So in the end, I have to say, there's nothing more expensive than a cheap Mercedes, but I have to always qualify that when I say, unless you're going to use it for parts. And that's why this has become a parts car.